Welcome to On Point. Standing next to me is James Scully. I'm Vance Hanson, filling in for Ed DeRosa, who is ensconced at the Oaklawn Jockey Club in Hot Springs for the Arkansas Derby on Saturday. James, it's the final week of Kentucky Derby preps. The Arkansas Derby is the big points race. We've got Cupid, the Rebel winner, who's safely in the Kentucky Derby field with his 50 points from last time. However, we got a couple horses like Sudden Breaking News and Whitmore who really can't afford to throw in a clunker this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's, like you mentioned, Cupid's the only horse that is 100%, in point wise, and the bubbles could be pretty high this year, so it's important to at least finish in the top four.
You like Cupid going into the Rebel? He won and paid about what was it, 4 to 1, 3 to 1,
yeah,
something
seven to two. Yeah.
7 to 2. What do you make of his chances going into Saturday's race?
Well, I like his chances. I mean, I like the way he came back in breeze right after the Rebel, and then he has a 7 furlong work and then another half-mile breeze in advance of this. And I think, though, the key drawing post 10 will give him an opportunity to sit back, like just off the speed. I think that will be important, for him going forward in the Derby. A lot of people might think that he's going to go wire to wire, but I think Garcia, like I said, is going to keep him on the outside with potentially, Gettysburg in post 12, flashing towards the front.
Yeah, I know a lot of trainers in the Rebel weren't expecting Cupid to be on the leads and having a comfortable pace to set in that particular race. You think that there's going to be a bit more pace pressure in that race. Looking at the race myself, I'm kind of thinking, what's there to lose by probably trying to go out for the lead again and trying to take them all the way. It kind of looks that way on paper. There's a lot of plodding type horses in this particular race. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, like I said, I'm thinking with such a lightly raced horse, I don't know if a wire-to-wire victory serves him real well going forward in the Derby, because I just don't think he's going to out-hustle, outwork, and potentially Danzig Candy and maybe another horse as well to the front in the Kentucky Derby. And, like I said, I mean, the real key to me is Gettysburg. He tried to make the lead in that Sunland Park race and couldn't do it, but, sat second to Collected, and being marooned way out there on the far outside, I mean, to me, he's got to go.
Well, of the other horses in the Arkansas Derby field, I'm kind of thinking I like Creator a little bit. I thought he ran a really good race in the Rebel, first time off a maiden victory. He's by Tappet out of a Peruvian mare who really liked to run a distance of ground. He's a late developer. He's really come along in his last couple of races at Oaklawn. But like I said, he doesn't have hardly any speed whatsoever. He's going to need a lot of help, a lot of pace pressure up front. I thought maybe he was probably the best alternative to Cupid in this race. Is there any horse other than Cupid that kind of sticks out?
Well, I agree with your thoughts about Creator, being an improving type who can step forward. Dazzling Gem, though, is definitely one I'll look at. They listed him at 12 to 1 on the morning line. I don't know if his price will be that high, but he likes Oaklawn Park. He broke his maiden and an entry-level allowance over the track, going 2 turns, and I thought that was a really solid effort in the Louisiana Derby. He was up close to the pace, and when Tom's Ready passed him, I thought he battled back and ran a good third that day behind Gunrunner. So I'm looking for him to factor into the top 3.
Yeah. Whitmore is a logical second, third choice in the wagering. He took a big run at Cupid in the stretch of the Rebel. Cupid turned him back pretty convincingly. Whitmore has yet to win or beyond 1 turn, I think. And to me, I think he had his big chance in the Rebel. I just don't know if he can get past Cupid this time or not. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm sort of agreeing with that sentiment. I think, Moquette believes he has the best late turn of foot in the field, and, I wouldn't count him out for running a big race from off the pace, but I do think, he doesn't have that much room to improve off those showings, and, could be a little vulnerable at, as a second or third choice in the wagering.
Yeah. Moving on to Keeneland, they're also hosting a Kentucky Derby prep this weekend, the Lexington Stakes. It's the return race of Swipe, arguably the second best juvenile last year, who ran second 4 times behind Nyquist. Unfortunately, he's been hindered by infirmities over the winter. This is his first start back, but really there's only 10 points to the winner of this particular race. The connections of Riker, have pretty much decided on going to the American turf on Derby weekend. Collected has not been campaigned as a Derby prospect so far, running in a non-points race last time at Sunland. Swipe, even if he wins on Saturday, is still going to be on the outside looking in as far as Derby eligibility. He'll only have 20-some points, 22 points, which is still not in the top 20.
Yeah, I couldn't. My stance on Swipe, I look for him to move forward off the Lexington, but I think he will be a little bit short, on Saturday. I've pretty much got Collected, as like a lot of people, as one of the horses to beat, perhaps a horse to beat, and he's going to show speed, but one thing he may have to deal with is there is some speed to his inside. If he can get over in front of him and get to the rail and the lead, boy, that really enhances his chances. But a horse I looked at in there was Synchrony. I think he can, I thought he ran a good race 2 back, rallying off the pace. Don't know what happened to him last time, but I think it was a good move by Donnie Von Hemmel to skip the mile and 8th Arkansas Derby and point him for this mile and 16th Lexington. So he's a horse I like.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up as well. It's very interesting that we had that same perspective. Yeah, he did run a pretty good race in the Smarty Jones. He didn't advance in the Southwest. Von Hemmel decided, hey, this isn't a Kentucky Derby quality horse, but I'm like you. I think he's going to possibly improve in this race coming up on Saturday. He has a win over the track. We'll see how he does in the Lexington. One final note, James, you were out at Keeneland this morning to watch the first post-Florida Derby workout for champion and Derby favorite Nyquist. What were your impressions?
Well, I thought he looked great. To my untrained eye, I thought he was finishing up really well in the stretch and galloped out strongly past the wire. Went back to the barn afterwards, and there were a lot of smiles and high fives. Everybody seemed really pleased. So, there's a little bit of concern, how he'll, bounce back from that work. O'Neill plans to work him the next 2 Fridays before the Derby. But if he comes back, healthy, because he had been dealing with like a minor white blood cell count issue. If this doesn't, set him back at all, then yeah, he's doing great right now.
Yeah, unless Cupid runs off the screen at Oaklawn tomorrow, Nyquist likely still the Kentucky Derby favorite after the next couple of Friday workouts. That's it for On Point this week. Enjoy the Arkansas Derby, and we'll see you next week.